My name is Mark Leddra. I've been in the glass and glazing industry for around 35 years now. Initially I was a contract manager for an independent glass company. Over the last few years I've become going out on my own and becoming a sole trader, and therefore the situation I found myself in by contacting Insolvency and Law. Well, before I contacted Insolvency and Law, the background of the situation was I had a dispute with a joinery company on a contract who were providing me some doors for a particular job where there were various errors, mistakes, late deliveries, etc, etc. Claimed extras that were not wholly justified. I questioned these initially and then a dispute crystallised from then on the final account summary. Well, in the past, before, if I had a dispute, I would tend to go for an arbitration or a mediation or discussion, because I know going to the courts or litigation is a long and sometimes fruitless subject. Therefore, I tried mediation, approaching arbitration, discussions over a period of time, which ended up to around 2 or 3 years before I was issued a statute of demand. Well, upon receiving the statute of demand, I was very surprised because I had a strong case of a contra charge. Therefore, that's why I'd requested the mediation arbitration. I did plead with the claimant to listen to these discussions before issuing the statute of demand, because I knew that I had a strong contra charge, and if it did go to the statute of demand, that I would have a good case of winning. Well, my personal feelings were I was very surprised, I was shocked. It was the issue of the statute of demand was tactical because I was away at the time, and when I got home I only had 48 hours to actually deal with the situation, as opposed to the 21 days that's generally recognised. Well, I came across Insolvency and Law as much as people search for these things nowadays on the internet. I'd read testimonials from other companies, I'd looked at testimonials, heard and read, and they were the choice that I'd made to contact Peter at Insolvency and Law to deal with the situation, knowing that I only had a very, very short period of time with the weekend approaching also. So Peter inspired me with confidence from the very first sentence of speaking. I outlined a brief summary of what had happened, how long it had been going on for, the attempts that I'd made to resolve the situation before the issue of the statute of demand, and Peter just inspired me with confidence from the very first conversation that I had with him. Well, I can only say that albeit I had confidence, you can never be 100% wholly confident, particularly where the law is concerned, but the way that Peter acted and with the expediency he acted and issued a response, again, I can only say I was inspired with confidence, and then at that stage I was even more sure or happier of the final outcome. Well, the final outcome was that the statutory demand was withdrawn, the summons was withdrawn, the court hearing was withdrawn because the contra charge was strong, and I haven't heard anything since, and that's been 3 or 4 months now. Well, the fees that were charged by Insolvency and Law were fees that I expected, I deemed to be reasonable. In fact, they were far cheaper than offers that I'd made to settle the case 2 or 3 years ago. So therefore the cost compared to what I was prepared to spend in my offer of mediation, arbitration, were far, far less and wholly reasonable for what I would expect to pay for that type of service. Well, I think personally it gives me peace of mind, because this has been something that's been hanging over my head for 2 or 3 years now, that was coming up every 6 months or so with different debt collection companies, bailiffs, acting on behalf of the claimant. Now I know that I can nip that in the bud almost immediately by picking up the phone and speaking to Insolvency and Law. Don't sit on the fence and get splinters. Get in touch with Insolvency and Law, because they'll deal with it immediately and they'll deal with it efficiently and practically. I've got no hesitation in recommending Insolvency and Law to any personnel, whatever trade they're in, personal, building trade, etc. Just pick up the phone, speak to Peter, he'll deal with it.